Hi Aries, welcome to 2020, the beginning of a new decade, of a new year, and of a new cycle. This year has a lot stacked up for you in terms of your career, the way you work, the way you are seen, the way you are accepted, the way that you are appreciated even. And it's going to be quite transformational and quite lucky, especially for those of you that want fame for the sake of fame itself. But I think you want more than that. I think you want the accolades. I think you want the appreciation. And if you don't want any of those things, what about having the success for yourself? You are on a pretty healing journey. And at times you do feel a little bit like a wounded warrior, but it's making you look inward and find clarity and find answers that you didn't have before. Page of Swords. Ooh, Six of Swords. A lot of Aries are walking away, sailing away, moving away from situations that are no longer growing. You're leaving in 2019, in the last decade, situations where the communication was off, where everything felt personal, where everything felt like it never quite got off the ground, where you felt underappreciated, undervalued. And for those of you that are stalking your ex religiously on social media, I would give it a rest. Focus on your money. Ooh. Okay. Seven of Pentacles, Three of Wands, Page of Pentacles, and the Two of Pentacles. Big focus on your money, big focus on your career, and weighing up what it is that you need to do with your money, whether you need to invest it, whether you need to travel, whether you need to invest in more education, whether or not you can do many of these things. But a lot of it, Aries, is quite simply focusing on what it is that you want. Uranus finally goes direct in your money sector on the 10th. Saturn and Pluto conjunct in your career sector on the 12th. The second week in January is quite a big one in terms of getting some perspective and focus on your financial situation and your money, because so far we have all of that stuff. But Venus, planet of love, enters Pisces, your 12th house, on the 13th. And you might need to wake up some old behaviors. You might need to bring some shadows into the light. You might need to look at your own behavior. You might need to evaluate what your relationships have brought to you and what they are bringing to you. For a lot of you with Judgment, there is a blast from the past, possibly someone someone that you've always really, really had a shine for. The Empress. Someone that is your epitome of beauty. But for others of you, it's a Scorpio. And for some of you with Venus entering Pisces, you're bringing to this a lot of self-love. There's a full moon lunar eclipse in Cancer, which is your family sector. So your relationship with your mother is highlighted. And with the eclipse gateway up until that point, leading from the King of Wands, leading from the new moon solar eclipse in Capricorn on Christmas Day, Boxing Day, depending where in the world you are, the eclipse gateway is waking you up to some negative patterns, as it is for everybody else. But for you in particular, it's the link between how the world sees you and how your family sees you. It's needing to show up for your family. I think for a lot of you, your mother might be wanting more attention, or you may be wishing you'd given more attention to your mother, but there seems to be a link there, and the lunar eclipse will highlight it. Especially for some of you, if it's an abandonment issue that goes quite deep in your family. In your environment, you stand proud, you stand tall, and you stand in your element with the King of Wands. But you may also be dealing with another fire sign. A Sagittarius, a Leo, or a fellow Aries. And they play a significant part in starting off your year on the right foot. Queen of Cups. Scorpio, Pisces, Cancer. Significant female. For a lot of you it's romantic, for a lot of you it is in work. It doesn't even have to be a female. But the water signs are proving to be, particularly Scorpios, Aries, of big focus in the beginning of the year. The Magician. You want to manifest the world that you want, you have to come at it through a place of emotion. If you cannot get over a certain person, something needs to change. Especially if it's a water sign, but it doesn't have to be any element. We know that by now. Judgment. Ooh. Now this is a picture. Yeah, for a lot of Aries, you're kind of hung up on somebody that broke your heart. And I do think for a lot of you it is Scorpio, or there's a Scorpio dynamic here that is not yet reached its full culmination. It's interesting that the Death card and the Knight of Cups are so very similar and they came out together, isn't it? The way that you look at love, being a romantic hero, the way that love is supposed to feel is all starting to shift for you. And it's because you're finally looking at those old wounds and addressing something that just needs to be addressed. The first step of changing something, some kind of pattern, is acknowledging it. And with the Hanged Man, you've been delaying some kind of healing, Aries, that is long overdue. For a lot of you, you're tired of the way that romance is going, or has gone, or you're noticing old patterns and behaviors, and you want to start afresh. It is a new year. It is a new time to start afresh. I do feel a lot of you have had a significant disappointment that has really, really knocked you. And the link to Scorpio could be Scorpio season. It could be going back to October. It could be going back to November. But perhaps in clearing out this old energy, something new and something a little bit more compassionate comes in its place. Manifesting from the heart. Deciding what it is that you want for yourself, what you want for others, what you want for the people you care about most. All while focusing on building something more stable for yourself. 2020 is all about building something stable. And as adventurous as that does not sound, Aries can make anything into an adventure. Everything takes off around the 20th. Because the Sun enters Aquarius and then moves the 24th new moon in Aquarius. And then boom presto, we're nearly into February. But in that time, you start to feel a little bit more magical. You start to see the 11th house energy manifest the things that you are hoping to manifest. All you have to do is remain compassionate, humble, and content with who you are, what you have to offer, and where you're going. King of Wands, if it's your energy that you're bringing into your environment, if you're standing very tall, very pretty, keeping your posture like a soldier, you can almost fake your way out of whatever this is that is keeping you so reluctant to move forward alone. And for a lot of you that are pretty happy in your relationships and in your personal relationships in general, I think that there's still something that's repeating. And I think that it's still something that you need to address. The Hanged Man is seeing an old wound from a different perspective. And the appreciation that things can end and begin, and that every gain is actually some kind of loss, and every loss is some kind of gain. You will have perspective to make whatever it is that you're wanting to happen. And even for some of you, it feels like something that you really thought was a cert is still going to happen. It's just not happening right now, and you need to come to terms with the blockages that are preventing you from getting there. And if somebody has said something that they can't take back, or you have said something that you can't take back, bear in mind that by Gemini season in May, I think you've probably found a resolution to that. I think you've probably had a conversation about it. I think it's probably been rectified. It just has taken a bit of time, or it will take a bit of time to get that back on the right foot. You're having some kind of big wake-up call. There's no messing around with judgment energy. It's very intense. It's very much the energy that makes you reevaluate, reassess. It's a rebirth. It's a renewal. By the 20th of January, by Aquarius season, something has reemerged, either within you or in your external world, that is going to require some thought and some decision making. And I can't help but think that shift in energy, or that change, or that letting go, or that rebirth, or whatever judgment is for you, and we'll get more into that in the extended, but whatever it is for you, I feel like it leads to realignment, either with a water sign, or a Gemini, or a Virgo, or whatever it may be. But there's somebody in your life that troubles you now that could impress you later. Before we get into the extended, I'm just going to clarify the judgment energy. It's a change that you've been resisting for a very, very, very long time. And once it changes, once that judgment energy appears, things take off really quite quickly, because there is a momentum built up behind this brick wall that has stifled you. The fence comes down and the stampede goes. And it could be to do with an air sign. I think for a lot of you, there's heavy Gemini aspects to this. It could be in your chart. But the Knight of Swords is a very quick moving energy. It's somebody that wanted to get in, or somebody that wanted a reaction, or somebody that wanted change, and all of a sudden, boom. January for you really is about focusing on embodying the energy that you wish to maintain throughout all your endeavors in 2020. And the astrological new year always starts with you. So this isn't necessarily your starting point. If you don't feel inspired right now, if you don't feel fresh, if you don't feel ready, that's fine. March time comes around and you'll be completely reborn. If you do feel ready and you do feel prepared to do a little bit of shadow work in terms of how you love and what your approach is, I think things could really turn around from you. But there's some emotional investments that did not pay off, and you're still kind of in the surplus. You're still trying to build that back up, but you cannot build that back up with money and career. You can do that, but what you actually need to do is, while focusing on your money, take 20 minutes out of your day to meditate, reflect, see a therapist. The Queen of Cups is oftentimes a therapist. You need to get to the root of something here, preferably before the eclipse in Cancer, to make sure that these blockages don't quite keep taking you down the way that they have done, because there's bigger opportunities here. We'll get into it in the extended, and we'll get into the Libras, the Taurus, the fire signs, the water signs, the earth signs, the air signs, and I will see you there. Take care, Aries. Bye.